Hold this thought. It's a Tuesday morning, about 4 months after Meera set up her first automatic transfer. The $50 a month has been moving automatically since then, without drama, without her having to remember, without a single Sunday afternoon dedicated to financial planning. She opens the savings account, not the checking account, the savings account, and the number is $214. Not enormous, she knows that. $214 is not financial freedom. It's not a safety net. It's not going to change her life in any visible way. But she stares at it for longer than usual. Because it's there. All of it, still there. She didn't spend it, didn't need to rescue it during a difficult week, didn't undo the transfer when her checking account felt tight. It just accumulated, quietly, without her doing anything particularly heroic, and sitting there looking at $214 that she didn't know how to keep 6 months ago. She feels something she didn't expect. Not pride exactly, something quieter than that. A question, one she's never been in a position to ask before. What do I do with this now? My name is Nick. And over 4 episodes we've followed Meera through something I think most personal finance content skips entirely. Not investing, not the compound of interest, not the part that gets talked about constantly, the part that comes first, understanding the drain, watching honestly, giving money jobs, removing herself from the equation with automation, and now, for the first time, she has something to work with. This episode is about what she does with it, and why the decision she made this Tuesday morning is one of the most significant financial decisions of her life, even though it doesn't feel like it. Here's something I want to be honest about. A savings account is not the same as an investment, and the difference matters more than most people realize, especially over a long period of time. A savings account keeps money safe. It does its job. The money stays. It doesn't disappear. It doesn't get recruited by a subscription or a tired Tuesday evening. That was exactly what Meera needed for the first few months. Safety first, learning to keep money before asking it to do anything more. But a savings account over time has a quiet enemy: inflation. If prices rise by 3% a year, which over long periods they tend to, and her savings account pays 1.5% interest, she is losing purchasing power slowly and invisibly. The number goes up. What it can actually buy goes down. A savings account is a fortress, but inflation is the slow rust on the gates. Your money isn't being stolen by a person, it's being eroded by time. Safety is necessary at the start, but eventually, safety becomes its own kind of risk. The money is staying, but it's not growing, and there is a version of money that can grow. A version that doesn't just hold its value, it compounds, it earns a return on its return. It works while Meera sleeps. The savings account was on the training ground. The investment account is where the money actually starts working. But moving money from a savings account to an investment account feels different from moving it from a checking account to a savings account, because now there's risk involved. The number can go down. And the number can go down is, for someone who has spent 4 months carefully learning not to lose money, a deeply uncomfortable idea. This is the cognitive gap of episode 5. Not how do I invest. The mechanism is not complicated. The gap is psychological. Can Meera let go of the certainty of the savings account for the uncertainty and much greater possibility of the investment account? So, what does Meera actually do with $214? And the honest answer is, not much. Not yet. The amount is small. That's fine. The amount was never the point. She opens a Roth IRA. Not because Roth IRA is a magic word, because it's a tax-advantaged account, meaning the growth inside it doesn't get taxed in the same way as a regular account. For someone starting out, with modest amounts, the difference is small. But the habit of tax efficiency, built early, compounds alongside everything else. Inside the account, she buys one thing: a broad market index fund. Not a specific company, not a sector, not a bet on anything in particular. Just the whole market. Hundreds of companies, diversified across countries and industries. The kind of thing that, historically, over long periods has grown at roughly 7 to 10% annually. She does not pick up the fund because she researched every option. She picks it because it is simple, low cost, and well diversified. Because of the research she has done, and she has done some, quietly, over the past few weeks, consistently points in the same direction. Simple and broad almost always beats clever and specific, especially for someone starting out. And she buys $100 worth, Not $214, not everything. She keeps $114 in the savings account, her buffer, her sense of safety, and moves $100 into the investment. And then she updates the automatic transfer. Going forward, $30 of the $50 monthly saving will route to the investment account automatically. The remaining $20 will continue building the savings buffer. She does not know when the $100 will become $200. She does not know if the market will drop next month. She cannot predict anything about what happens next in financial markets, and she has stopped pretending she can. What she knows is simpler than that. Money invested in a broad market index fund, left alone for decades, has historically grown. Not every year, not in a straight line, but over time, yes. And time is the one thing Meera has right now that she will never have more than she does today. That evening, she opens the notebook, the one that started blank, the one with every dollar needs a job on the first line, and she writes a second line underneath it. Every dollar needs a job. Some dollars work while I sleep. That $100 isn't just money anymore. It's an employee. It's the first worker in a factory that Meera just built in the middle of a Tuesday morning. It doesn't need a lunch break, and it doesn't ask for a raise. It just works. Not triumphant. Just true. The machine has started. It is very small. It is $100 in an index fund and $30 a month flowing automatically. It has no drama attached to it. It does not feel like the beginning of something significant, but it is. Now, I want to stop here, because I think there's a version of this that sounds almost too quiet, too undramatic. $100 in an index fund, $30 a month. Where's the moment? Where's the transformation? And I understand that. Because we are surrounded by financial content that promises dramatic moments. The stock that doubled overnight, the investment that changed everything, the single decision that made someone rich. But here's what I've noticed about those stories. They are almost never how wealth actually builds. The real story is almost always quieter than that. And I want to talk about why quiet is not the same as small. Here's the thing about $100 in an index fund. Today it's $100. It feels like $100. It is $100. In 10 years, at a historically conservative 7% annual return, it is $197. Nearly double, without Meera doing anything. In 20 years, $387. In 30 years, $761. And that is just $100. The $30 a month that follows it, that has its own compounding, its doubling, its own decades of quiet, unremarkable growth. The machine is not loud when it starts. It has been quiet for a very long time. And most people, mistake the quiet for nothing happening. They check the account after 6 months and see that their $100 is now $107. And they feel underwhelmed, and they wonder if they're doing it wrong. And some of them stopped. But the compounding curve doesn't care about 6-month check-ins. It cares about decades. And in decade 3, when the curve finally bends sharply upward, the people who stayed through the quiet years are the ones who benefit. The people who stopped in month 6 are not there to see it. The first few years of compounding are like watching a tree grow. If you check every day, it looks like nothing is happening. But if you stop looking and just keep watering, one day you realize you're standing in the shade of something massive. Morgan Housel, in Same as Ever, makes a point that I think applies more directly to this moment than almost anything else he's written. He talks about how the most powerful returns in investing come not from picking the right stocks, not from perfect timing, not from extraordinary insight. They come from giving compounding the time it needs. The machine does not need to be clever. It needs to be running. And the only way it keeps running is if the person running it really understands, that quiet is not the same as nothing. Meera's machine is quiet. It is $100 and $30 a month, and an index fund she will probably not check more than once a quarter. It is, by every dramatic measure, completely unimpressive. It is also, if she leaves it alone, the beginning of something that will matter enormously to the version of herself that is 30 years older. Here's what changed between episode 1 and episode 5. And I don't mean the savings account or the investment account or the automatic transfers. 6 months ago, Meera's relationship with money was reactive. Money arrived, life happened, money disappeared. She responded to whatever payday brought and whatever the month took. Now, her relationship with money is intentional. She knows where it goes. She decided where it would go. Some of them are assigned to fixed jobs. Some of them are assigned to the things that make her life feel live-able. Some of it, a small but growing sum, is a sign to the future. She didn't become a different person. She didn't discover a discipline she hadn't had before. She built a system that works with the person she already is, including the person who sometimes forgets Sunday afternoons, who sometimes has a tired Tuesday, who sometimes needs the takeaway and not the cooking. The system accommodates all of that. It just does its important work first. And that, I think, is the real lesson of Season 1. Not any specific financial technique, not the job list or the automation or the index fund individually. The lesson is that the right system doesn't require you to be at your best. It works on average, and over time the average is enough. Meera closes the notebook. The savings account has $114 in it. The investment account is $100. The automatic transfer sends $50 every payday, $30 to the investment, $20 to savings. And next month, without her doing anything, those numbers will be slightly larger. Not dramatic, just slightly, quietly, reliably. The machine has started. So, back to that Tuesday morning, the savings account, $214. The question Meera had never been able to ask before. What do I do with this now? 6 months earlier, that question would have been impossible. Not because she lacked information, because she didn't have $214. She didn't have $100. She had a checking account that emptied itself every month without being asked. The work of Season 1, all 4 episodes of it, was not about investing. It was about getting to the moment where that question becomes possible. Understanding the drain, watching it honestly, giving money jobs, building automation that runs without her. 4 steps, 4 months. And now, a question that changes the nature of everything that follows. The machine didn't start with a brave decision. It didn't start with a windfall, or a salary increase, or a stroke of luck. It started with a Tuesday morning, a savings account with $214 in it, and a woman who had learned, slowly, imperfectly, practically, how to keep money long enough to do something with it. Before money can grow, it first has to stay, and now, it stays. And now, it is growing. The financial observer doesn't just watch the drain anymore. We're watching the growth. Season 1 was about the foundation. Season 2 is about heights. That's the end of Season 1. But it's not the end of Meera's story. The machine is running, it is small, it is quiet. It has been running for 1 month. Fast forward 10 years. Meera is 38. The automatic contributions never stopped. The market had good years and difficult ones. And she held through all of them. Not because she was exceptionally brave, but because the system kept running whether she felt brave or not. The $30 a month became $50, then $100, then more as her income grew, and the automation captured part of every raise before her lifestyle could absorb it. The machine is no longer small. And what happens when a machine has been running for a decade? What compounding does at that scale? What it feels like watching returns exceed your own contributions for the first time. That is a completely different story. That's what Season 2 is about. The machine exists now. Meera built it, not in a single dramatic moment, but across 4 ordinary months with a notebook, a job list, an automatic transfer, and $100. The questions Season 2 asks are not how do you build the machine. Season 2 asks, what happens when it starts working? So, I want to ask you the Season 1 question one last time. Where are you in this? The drain, the watching, the job list, the automation, the first investment. Which of those steps is the one you're standing at right now? Drop it in the comments. Because the step you're at is the only one that matters, and knowing which one it tells you exactly what comes next. And if this series has been useful, subscribe, because Season 2 picks up 10 years later. Meera is 38. The machine has been running, and the questions she's asking are completely different from the one she started with. Not where did my money go? She knows that. Not how do I keep it? She knows that too. Season 2 is about what happens when the machine starts doing more work than you do, what that feel like, what it asks of you, and what most people get wrong, even the ones who built it right. I'll see you there.